Hello everyone and welcome to season 4. It's been a minute. It's so great to have you join me. Exciting things in store for you for season 4. Now, I thought it would be wonderful to start off with an interview. God is doing amazing things out there and we want to hear all about it. And that's what we're going to do today. So I would suggest you grab a bite, something to drink, water, a drink, sit back and relax. Remember to like, to comment, to share, and to subscribe. So we're going to cross over to our guest. Welcome, Tafara.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's great to have you with us today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. I truly appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
So we'd like you to introduce yourself to the audience and just get to know you a little bit, and then we'll move over to your story. I know you've got lots of exciting things to share.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. So, as Tungi has alluded to, my name is Tafara Matondo. I'm a husband, a father to one beautiful daughter, and I'm one who loves life. I enjoy life to the max. And I must say, it's been a wonderful life thus far, not without its challenges and excitement. You know, anything that is exciting will also have some challenges in it. So, I'm a trained fit and turner by profession. I'm a chef, and I've now ventured into network marketing as a profession for the past 15 years, and I've enjoyed it. I've made relationships, friendships, you know, with people from all walks of life from across the globe. Yeah, so that I would say is Tafara in a nutshell.
Wow.
Thanks again.
You wear many hats, I can see.
Absolutely.
Now, I know you've got so many things you want to share with us. A lot has happened in your life. So I'm just going to ask you to begin.
Sure. All right, where to begin? Maybe let me say something that is very near and dear to me. Something that I would say changed my perspective on life. You know, after having gone through that particular episode in my life, in 2014, we were traveling to Chennai with my wife, my mom, and my sister to go and put some flowers on my maternal grandparents' grave. And so had this pain in my gut, you know, mentioned it, but in passing and ignored it. Then traveled on, got to Chennai, the pain was getting worse. But then you know, as you know, with many of our African families, whenever you get to somebody's house, you're going to be given something to eat.
You have to eat.
You got to eat.
Otherwise, it's an insult.
It's an insult to the people whom you're visiting. Got to my aunt's house. She made a meal for us. We ate. Little did I know that you know, I was packing in food in a stomach that was not functional anymore. So soon after we ate, I decided, no, let me go use the bathroom before we leave. Went into the bathroom, tried to move my bowel, but there was no movement. Came back in, got into the car, drove off about 100 meters or so from the house.
100 meters or 100 kilometers?
100 meters from the house. 100 meters from the house.
Okay.
The pain was excruciating. I couldn't manage it. I couldn't handle it. And so I just decided, my aunt had mentioned a little earlier that she had this very strong painkiller that she'd been given for headache or
for anything.
I can't remember, for anything, And I said, please, can you give me one of those so I can take care of this pain? So reversed to the house. I jumped out of the car and all I wanted to do was to lie flat on my stomach on the floor.
That's quite dramatic.
It was extremely dramatic, and I didn't know how it had moved from, you know, something that I was able to ignore to something that I could handle anymore.
Like agonizing pain.
Yeah, it was terribly agonizing. So took the painkiller and jumped back into the car and we took off. Drove for about, I would say 20, 30 kilometers. And I'd instructed everybody in the car to say, from here on, until we get to where we're going to be praying.
Was this to cover you?
To cover me. Because I said to myself, I don't understand this and I don't know what it is that's going on.
So can I ask something? Did the painkiller work at that stage?
I guess it worked in my head, but not in
your
really,
body.
not in my body, yeah.
Okay.
So in my head it worked, and so we carried on driving, we're praying, and but the pain was really not gone. It was still there.
Okay.
And so we carried on, drove, and I was as brave as I could be, and wanted to be the man and everything else. So drove all the way to my maternal grandparents' home. Again, just as I managed to get the car to stop, jumped out of the car, lay flat on my stomach on the ground.
Well, that made you feel better in a way.
That made me feel better somehow. I don't know how, but it made me feel better.
Okay.
So we did what we needed to do, went to the grave sites, put the flowers, we prayed, and walked back to the homestead. And I said, people, let's get into the car so we can get out of here as quickly as possible, so we can make our way back to Harare.
Okay.
And so got into the car. I reversed the car, but the pain was so bad. I then said to Zerai, I'm sorry, but you've never driven on a dirt road before, but you're going to have to drive.
You're going to start today.
Today and now, because
Yeah.
if you don't, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
With this pain, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
So she jumped into the driver's seat. I went to the passenger side and drove for a few kilometers off of, from the homestead towards Chinoi. And if you'd never seen this, you'll never believe it. But the footwell where you put your legs when you're sitting in the in a car. I curled myself up in that little space
in the front,
and I was able to fit because of the pain. That's how bad it was.
Gosh.
I needed just to, I don't know what it is that I needed to do, but the pain was that bad. And so drove, and again we're praying. So everybody now is worried and panicking. My aunt says, no, when we get to Chinoi, we go to the hospital, you get attended to and whatever you. And I'm saying, no, this is nothing. All I need to do is to get out of here and get to Harare. It's a spiritual attack.
Oh.
They didn't want me to come and do what we did at the grave. And so
you didn't want medical attention in Chinoi?
I didn't want medical attention in Chinoi. I'm thinking, it's a spiritual attack. So let's just get to
Harare,
and I'm out of this space, and I'll be okay. But by the time we got to Chinoi, I was quick to say, I think that idea of going to the hospital makes sense. Let's go with it. So drove to Chinoi Provincial Hospital, and again, before the car came to a halt, I was out, and again, lay flat on my stomach. Yeah. And so the nurses come out and they said, you're not allowed to do that and this, that, and the other and stuff. And I'm saying, don't tell me anything. Right now, all I need,
what my body needs.
What my body needs is what I'm doing right now.
Exactly.
So, and as you'd have it, eventually after, some dramatic happenings again at Chinoi Hospital and stuff like that, I was admitted and the doctor on call is called. He didn't pick up on time.
Okay.
Called again, eventually came, and just as he came, Zesa went. And the generator that's supposed to kick in automatically did not kick in.
So everything just went,
everything
blacked
went
out.
blacked
out. Oh my gosh.
So there was nothing working. And so...
no scans, nothing.
Nothing could happen.
Yeah.
So he needed to do an x-ray to see what was happening. And so nothing could happen without power.
Yeah.
They tried everything they could with the generator and nothing happened.
It wouldn't start?
It would not start. Nothing worked.
Gosh.
So I'm told for about 3-4 hours we were waiting for the generator to kick in and nothing happened.
That's a long time. If
That's
you're not
a
feeling
long
well.
time. Oh, it was a long, long time. Oh, and I forgot. Just as we got to the hospital, you know how it is where they need to get a clinic card and what they've used, and now they use books for, patient's record and that kind of stuff. So this nurse behind the desk says to me, you need to go and buy yourself a book so that we can record your stuff. And
oh, yeah. And this is an emergency.
This is an emergency. I blasted it right then and I told her, you're full of nonsense. All I need, you can see I'm in pain.
Yeah.
I have my wife here, I have my mother, and I have everybody else here. And you're telling me I need to go out with them to go buy a book so you can record whatever it is you need to record of me.
Yeah.
Say, they can go buy the book. You need to do what you need to do and take this pain away from me. Yeah. So she says, oh, no, okay, no, that's fine. And whatever you use. But, she tried to argue, and I told her, this is nonsense. I'm not going to take that.
Well, I'm glad you say that because some people don't stand up for themselves.
This is
it. I wonder what happens to them.
This is it. Yeah. So anyway, eventually after 4 hours, from out of the blue, generator just kicks in on its own, and
Oh,
yeah, just on its own, it kicks in, and we have power.
I think they were praying.
I
Your
think
wife
so.
and your mother and them.
I think so. So yeah, generators kicked in, and we were able to get the X-ray done. Doctor looks takes a look at the X-ray, and he says, "I can't handle this here. I've never seen anything like this.
Oh.
Gotta refer it to Harare, and you gotta go now." This is, I think, about 7 p.m. now.
That's scary.
It is. It was very scary. I don't know all this here. I'm told this is what happened.
This is like you were told afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah, because I was told I was injected pethidine, one of the strongest drugs
For pain.
for pain. It's supposed to be administered, I think, at 3-hour intervals.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and but for the pain that I was in, I'm told I got every 30 minutes they were injecting me with one of those to manage the pain.
So you must have been like out because pethidine makes you very drowsy
does.
because they usually use that for
Yeah.
labor.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you couldn't remember anything.
I could not remember anything. I didn't know all this. I was told by my wife a
Wow.
whole lot later.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, at the end of it all, got an ambulance. Got into the ambulance. My wife now had to drive the car with my mother, my sister, and jumped. I jumped into the ambulance with I think my cousin's wife from Chinoi, and the nurse drove straight from Chinoi
To Harare
and
Hospital?
Harare Hospital.
Okay.
Apparently, all referral cases from outside of Harare go to Harare Hospital first. Then from there, the patient will decide whether
Where
they
to
want to
go.
stay or, stay
Yeah.
at Harare. And as we were driving up and we were told this is what's going to happen, so I got in touch with a family friend, a doctor, and explained what was going on. Then the doctor said, from what you're telling me and what I know of such such issues, you have a very limited amount of time. So I would say, let him go to Harare Hospital, let him be admitted at Harare, worked on at Harare, because trying to move him from Harare Hospital with the amount of time, the window that you have is very short. And and this is besides, Harare Hospital has got good equipment, they got good care.
They've got good experts.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So let him stay at Harare Hospital.
This was
And
2014, hey?
2014, yeah.
Okay.
And so all these decisions are being made on my behalf because I'm out. I don't know what's
You must
happening.
be with the amount of pethidine they were giving you.
So yeah, anyway. And so we get to Harare Hospital. I'm admitted. Everything is done. They take me into a ward to prepare me for surgery as early as possible. And as you would know, there are always queues for surgery.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
thank God I had, again, so I communicated with friends that we do business with. And the husband is ophthalmologist, I think, deals with eyes.
Okay.
And so he's got a friend who's a surgeon at Harare Hospital. And so
I can really see God
narrated,
there.
yes.
I can see God already. I can see a thread of God
Yeah. So, he did what he, called and said, this is the situation. And apparently the surgeon who's friends with this friend of ours is the one who's supposed to operate on me.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
so he's told this, he says, oh yeah, I see his name is on my schedule here. Okay, let me go and have a look at him and see what it is that we need to do.
Okay.
So he came to the ward, looked at me, but still, I'm out, I
You're
don't know
out,
anything.
yeah,
Yeah, so after he looked at me, he decided, no, I think this year is priority. So I jumped the queue and went in first.
Wow.
And I'm told I was in there about 3-4 hours. And I had what is called compound sigmoid volvulus. Basically,
Don't know
it's a blocked intestine. It's blocked both at the bottom and at the top, and affecting both the large and small intestines. Usually it's either the small or the large intestine,
This time
but
it's
now
both. That sounds very complicated.
Yeah, so they said this is an emergency. And so after they did what they did, my wife is told, okay, so after surgery, they come out and the doctor says to Zawai, your husband has had major surgery.
Yeah.
And he's going to be out in ICU or HDU. I'm not too sure which comes first, which is more
ICU
intense.
is more intense,
Is
and
more
then you were
intense
moved down to
to
HDU.
HDU, okay.
Yeah.
So Ed said that the surgeon said I was going to be in ICU for about 14 to 21 days.
3 weeks or so.
Yeah. Well, they monitor me from there. Then I'll move into HDU. Then from there, maybe day 30 thereabouts, I'll move into a normal ward.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say, by God's grace, I spent one night in ICU.
One night.
One night
And
in
not
ICU.
the
Not
3
the
weeks.
3 weeks. One night in ICU. Then from there, went into the normal ward. And within 7 days, I was discharged from the hospital.
Wow.
Because the doctor said the amount, the way I was recovering and the way the wound was healing, and I was able to, the things I was then able to do, he said there was no need for them to keep me. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. I'm still baffled, and I thank God for His grace, because within from 30 days to 7 days total spent in hospital. It's
for me, that's a miracle. The whole thing,
a huge miracle.
The whole story,
a huge miracle.
Yeah.
Now, while I was there, I got to realize how ungrateful we are as people. I saw the other side of life, because most of the people who are at Harare Hospital are the low income bracket.
Yes.
And so I believe God took me there for a reason, for me to see how the other half of, how other people live life, and how things can be difficult. I think the second day or so after I came into the normal ward, one gentleman was supposed to be discharged that day, but he could not be discharged because he was unable to pay, I think it was something like, it wasn't $200, it was maybe let's call it $240 in total. That's when we're using US dollars.
Yes.
And so $240 was not too much of a huge sum for anyone to be able to take care of. But he was unable to take care of it for himself. And he had called every person that he thought would be able to assist him,
and they couldn't.
But could not come up with $240. And here's the funny thing, which is really sad. The hospital could not discharge him because he was unable to pay $240. So they detained him in hospital while the bill is still accruing.
That's what I'm thinking, if the bill is accruing.
And it did not make sense to me. So me being me, I jumped in there and I said, Mkoma, what's the story? So he narrated his story. I'm from Kadoma, and I came here by ambulance, and so I need to pay for the ambulance, I need to pay for my hospital stay and everything that was done for me and stuff like that. And so I spoke to the one nurse and I said, how can we help this guy? Because if he stays in here, the amount that he can't pay now,
he's never going to leave.
He's not going to leave. It's not going to help him anyway. So she says, I know, the only thing you can do is go to accounts and hopefully they're able to work something out such he can be discharged.
Like a payment plan or something?
This is it,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And so here's a twist to the story. He didn't have money for transport to go back to Kadoma. And apparently, the day that he was being discharged, there was an ambulance from Kadoma that was going to be his transport back to Kadoma.
A free ride?
A free ride.
Okay.
But now, because he can't pay the $240 and this, that, and the other, and the hospital is saying you can't go. So I hobbled on to accounts with this guy and I said, if he fails to do what he needs to do, here's my name, here's my number, we'll deal with it. I don't have the money to pay it,
but I'll sort it out.
We'll find a way to deal with it, So on that, he was discharged, jumped into the ambulance, and he went off.
Thank you for doing that. That's amazing as well.
So it was,
the other side of life.
This is it, And you realize we are very ungrateful is what I walked away from that with. And another sad story while I was in there. There's a young man, he was 16 years old. He then passed on, I think, about 6 or so years ago.
Oh.
Yeah. And he had been in hospital about 2-3 months from his story and what the nurses were telling me. And when you looked at him, he was nothing more than 11 or 12 years old.
At the time?
At the time.
Okay.
But he was 16. But he was that stunted.
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
he was 16, but his physique
His
was of
physique
a
was of
11, 12-year-old?
12-year-old, yeah.
Okay, okay.
And so I then, you know when the doctors come every day, they're doing their rounds, looking at, checking on their patients and seeing progress and that kind of stuff. This young boy is just sitting there right through the day. He eats with us, we talk, whatever needs to be done. Every so often he gets maybe some tablets here, some medication and stuff like that. Again, my big mouth, I went and asked, I said, what's his story? So, and I'm told, oh no, he needs to have surgery, but there's no money.
There's no money.
And there's no money for x-ray. I said, okay.
Before you can do the
surgery.
The surgery.
Yeah, so how much is the x-rays? Mentioned a very small amount, I can't remember what it was. And I said, okay, I'll make a plan for him to get that done. He says, oh no, before that, there's this that needs to be paid and this that needs to be paid. And I said, so, and he's got a bill again that's accruing for staying in the hospital ward. Excuse me. And you're saying you can't discharge him because he's not paid his bill, but you can't attend to him because he's got no money. So this young man is in prison, basically.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? So the nurses now were getting iffy with me because I'm questioning whatever it is that's happening in this place. Yeah. No, you're a patient here. You're not here to ask questions too much and whatever. And I said, no, but
someone
I
has
can't
to stand
just
up
watch.
for them. Yeah.
This is nonsense.
Yeah.
You're saying this young man has been here for almost 3 months.
Oh, wow, that's a long time.
That's a long time. 3 months sitting in here and nothing happening for him. Why is he here? Either give him the help that he needs or let him go. And said, oh, okay. So when the doctors came in the morning, the next morning, I pulled the doctor when he was, done with me. And I said, Chiremba, there's that boy. What's the story? He says, I know, they tell me there's x-rays to be done and whatever it is. And I said, yeah, I'm told there's that. But after the x-rays, what then happens? He needs surgery. He says, yes. So, and I said, when are we going to give that to him?
Yeah.
And so doctor then looks at me, says, oh, when are we going to? And I said, yes, when are we going to deal with that situation? This is ours. It's no longer just his problem. It's all of our problem. And so he comes up and he says, give me his file. So he looks at his files, looks and says, okay, he needs x-ray, then he needs that, he's got. And as you'd have it, had something similar to what I was suffering from.
Really?
Yeah. But his was, I think, perforated intestines, but then again, part of his intestine did not have muscle, whatever it is that's supposed to be there, such that it can contract and expand and stuff like that. So whenever food would get to that part, it would not move past it.
So he was living like this for the last 3 months and before that?
And before that. And,
That's
the
sad.
nurses and doctors are
That's
just
really
saying,
sad.
it's okay, we leave it as that. And so after we talked and the doctor says, so Mr. Matondo, what do you want us to do? And I said, we must help this young man.
Yes.
Let's help him out.
Absolutely.
And he says, okay, so what do we do? What do we do about the money that needs to be paid? And I said, you can help. I'll help. Let's find somebody else who can assist. He says, oh, I can help. And I said, yes. Let's help
In his
this young
personal
man.
capacity?
Yes, in his personal capacity. And I said, yes, you can help. So he laughed and he says, okay, no, that's fine. Now that you've put me in that position,
I will do something.
I'll do something.
Yeah.
I said, yes, let's do something. So the nurses look at me after the doctor is gone and they said, no, Imbaba Mnotauris and what have you used and stuff like that. And I said, no. And I said, but this guy needs to be helped.
Yes.
So, I think 2 days later, young man is taken in for x-rays, got his x-rays done, and long story short, went into surgery, he came back. By the time he came back, I had been discharged.
Okay.
But I'd then gotten in touch with his aunt who lives in Hopley, and we were communicating, then spoke to his mom who lived in Gokwe somewhere and
Okay.
stuff like that, told them what was happening and how things were going to go and stuff. And I said I would help as much as I possibly could. And we did that. So Lawrence, that's a young man's name, he's helped, got his surgery, and he needed what are called colostomy bags, where for a season your bowels can't move normally.
Yeah.
You'll have a bag that you pass your stool into and stuff like that. And the hospital didn't have those.
It's another cost.
That's another cost.
Yeah.
So they needed to, we needed to find some for him. And while I'd been there, because I also needed a colostomy pouch
bag,
and stuff
yeah.
like that, so I reached out to friends and family. We bought some for myself locally, then reached out to friends in the US and the UK and stuff like that. And I think at the peak, I got over 300-400 colostomy pouches.
Wow, that's
and
quite a
yeah.
long time, because I think you use a few a day.
This is it. In
Yeah.
a day, you'd use, I would
four,
use three.
three.
And he needed, I think, 2-3 per day
Per
as well.
day.
So I
that's for
supplied what he
months.
needed. Yeah, so
Wow,
we were
wow,
covered
wow.
for quite a while. And again, we were able to take care of that. Then every patient, I said to the nurses when I was discharged, I said, every patient who comes in and is unable to get the pouches, let me know. I'll make a plan.
Wow, wow.
And so I think the adults, both on the ladies' side and men's side, we gave colostomy pouches to about 10-15 adults.
Adults. Over
Then,
what period was this?
I think it was about a year.
About a year.
About a year, yeah. And that's when you realize the problem is actually quite prevalent.
That's
but
what
you
I was
don't know
thinking,
about.
that a lot of people, because we're just looking
Yes.
at one area, so
This
a lot
is
of
it.
people have these
This is it.
sort of like diagnoses
This is it,
where
yeah.
where they end up needing colostomy bags, and
Colostomy
there's
bags.
no one to
And
buy
there's
them because
nobody
they are
to buy
quite
them.
pricey.
They're quite pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, over a period of a year,
Wow.
took care of
Praise
about
God that
15
you used to.
adults and stuff. Then went to, word quickly spread that there's this man who is supplying
The colostomy
guy.
The colostomy guy.
So there are some kids who are born with their rectum closed.
Yeah.
So they cannot pass through the
Yeah.
normal way. So they again need colostomy pouches
After surgery.
after surgery.
Yeah.
So went, reached out to friends again and got some for the
Wow.
kids. But before the ones for the kids came, we had to make do with the adult ones.
Okay.
And but it worked.
Just
So,
adjust them or something.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah. So again, on the children's side, I think there were about 15-20 of kids that needed help. And there's one whose father is now a friend. He was told about me way after I left the hospital. He came to my house,
Wow.
sat down with him and talked to him, and I told him, I gave him the colostomy pouches, and I said, no, this is the step, what happens and stuff like that, and this is what I went through, and things worked out. And the little boy, is, I
thriving.
think he's about 6-7 now, living his life normally. Doesn't use the pouch anymore. His bowel moves, his system works
Wow.
normally.
Praise God for that.
Yeah, so I was really, really happy with what the Lord did for me. It was painful, yes, but what then came off it is really fulfilling.
I can
And,
see that. Yeah, it's
very,
amazing.
very fulfilling. And for quite a while, I was popular at Harare Hospital, I think.
Now you were popular. At first they were like, this guy.
This guy talks too much, yes. So, and
It's amazing because I feel like, I know that God allowed you to go through that pain.
Right.
Because I think it's different from somebody who just said, I want to donate, I've come, I want to donate 1,000 colostomy bags, because they don't understand the condition or a
and all that.
related condition.
Absolutely.
It's like, I wonder what it feels like. You didn't have to wonder.
No, I knew exactly.
You actually lived the experience.
I knew it exactly.
And perhaps that's why God allowed it.
This is it.
So that you
This
can
is it. Yeah.
empathize
This is it.
with these people
You
and
can say
really be
that,
driven
yeah.
from a point of conviction.
Absolutely.
I think so. You definitely were used
It
of
was
God.
absolutely.
It went beyond you.
It did.
Yeah.
And, one more story about Harare Hospital. While I was there, I didn't know I had so many people who loved me.
Oh,
And so
that's nice. It really is.
I had...
That's the importance of relationships.
Yes, this is it.
Also comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it would be a pandemonium, if I could call it that, visiting time. There would be
going in?
so many people coming to see me and what reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
such that it was such a big thing, such that the nurses were asking me after the people had gone, say, Mr. Matondo, no better nurse,
They
that
thought, is
all
he a
these people
pastor? Who
here.
is he?
Yeah. And somebody said, I've seen a doctor come here and visit you. Not just a small fry doctor, but a very big doctor
High
who's
profile
not
doctor.
coming to look at patients. He's coming to visit you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've seen this pastor, that
that
pastor, and
pastor.
this one, and this one. And
Who are
no,
you?
wait, I said, no, I just love people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good thing. That's a
this is
good
it.
thing.
We get along with
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
and,
yeah. That's a good thing.
so she says, no, but there must be something more to it. And I said, no, there isn't. It's just a
You're
relationship.
just a people person.
That's it. And
Yeah.
we carry on, we enjoy, and we love each other, and we continue to grow. So
Yeah.
one of the people who visited me while I was there, and they came to visit me, and I was in the male ward, recovering. They came and walked to the maternity ward. I'm in the male ward. They got lost and went to the maternity ward.
This is a lady.
This is a lady.
Okay.
And what they saw when they went to the maternity ward, after asking, say, okay, no, I'm looking for Tafara Matondo. No, this is maternity ward. Okay, maternity ward. Again, God's way of doing things. This lady, high profile, banker and influential. And so she saw in the maternity ward, all the beds are taken. Some ladies are on the floor on mattresses. Some are literally on the floor with nothing in the maternity ward. That's how deplorable the situation was. And so it tugged her heart.
Yeah.
And she said, what can we do? Long story short, the bank she worked for ended up donating 50 new beds and various
Wow.
other
Wow.
things for the
Wow.
maternity ward. And so I said to myself, God really had to put me through pain, allowed me to go through pain for him to be able to get the people to come and see what was happening and do something about it.
And now it's the maternity ward.
Maternity
You're
ward
sorting
is
out
being-
the colostomy guys.
Yes, the maternity ward is
Wow.
sorted. And so
Wow.
that was something else that happened. And I'm glad that God used me
He did. He
to be able
definitely
to
did.
get to do what he needed to do at Harare Hospital.
So she wasn't lost.
She was
She was lost, but not really
not
lost.
really lost. She was
Yeah.
directed that way by
yeah. Yes,
God
yes.
to go and see what was happening, and
Wow, that's
she
huge
would,
as
she
well.
would do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was my escapade with my compound sigmoid volvulus.
Oh, I'm still getting my head around that. I've never heard of that. I don't know. Is it a common thing? I don't think
No,
it
I don't
is.
think it is.
It isn't.
From what I've been told, it's not a common
It's not
thing.
a common
Yeah.
thing.
It's
Do
not a
they know
common
what
thing.
caused it?
They say it's different from person to person. And I saw what caused it for me. The surgeon says, Tafara, let me not try and explain to you.
Okay.
Because for me, he said, had it been just the large intestine, getting entangled, I would understand. It happens. And but for you, it was both the large and the small intestine
yeah.
entangled, both,
Yeah.
And so how that could happen is, inexplicable.
Yeah.
You could not explain
Yeah.
it. And another thing that I maybe forgot or I had mentioned is I had an extra 1.2 meters length of intestine in my gut
Before the surgery.
before the surgery.
An extra.
An extra 1.2 meters.
When you say
apparently.
extra, are you saying it's like longer than usual?
Longer than usual, yes.
That's odd.
And as you sit here, if you're normal, you're supposed to have maximum 6 meters of intestine.
And then it's
both
all,
large.
I know those
It's
pictures
all-
in biology,
yes.
it's all coiled up.
Coiled up, yes.
But you had
So-
that, but an extra one
And
point something.
1.2. So I had 7.2 meters. And again, the doctor could not explain that. And he says, how you've lived this long, because I think I was then 43. And he says, you're 43 years old. And you've never had problems with this extra length of your stomach. or intestines rather. It's actually a marvel and something that I cannot understand.
A walking miracle.
Yes,
So it's a problem if it's too long, obviously.
it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So he then said, I would attribute that extra 1.2 having caused the problem because
Oh,
then
really?
it was not. Yeah, there
It was
not
like you didn't
enough
have anywhere to
room.
go
This
to
is
sit.
it.
Yeah.
So one way or the other, it then got entangled and stuff. And I said, wow.
So for decades,
I was
I guess
living.
you wouldn't have known unless
I
there was a
was-
symptom like
this
pain.
is it, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing. And we carried on like that. So he says,
That's interesting.
yeah.
That's God.
Yeah, absolutely.
well. He
It
preserved
is
your
God.
life.
He did.
Yeah.
And so.
For me, the scary part was when they said you only have a certain amount of time.
Yes.
Because to me, it's something like maybe you'd have died.
Yes.
Literally.
Let me bring that home for you. Somebody, the surgeon told me of somebody who also drove in an ambulance from Chennai with something similar to what I had, but not a compound, the basic, if I may call it that.
Yeah.
And after having driven from Chennai, they lost their life at the roundabout by Westgate, coming into a rally.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, very, very sad.
That is so sad.
Very, very sad. So when I was told I had 36 hours,
3 days. Oh, 36 hours.
36 hours between the time it started and the time I could have gone. And I'm told this story of somebody who came the same distance that I traveled and they lost their life because of the same symptoms.
That hits
I
home.
cannot, it does. I
Yeah,
can
because
honestly
it means
thank you,
when
God,
the time it started, by the time you got to Harare,
That's it.
we already chipped into that 36
Into
hours.
that, we had.
Yeah.
We had eaten into that already. So, but
Wow.
God had a
He
plan.
had a plan. He had a plan and he's got a plan for your life. That's why you're
it.
still here.
That's it.
Wow,
That's
that's
Yeah.
really a
That's
testimony.
it. Yeah. So
And we
it's,
just give God the glory for
we
that.
do. We do.
Wow.
We give him the glory because
Wow.
when I was told that and the doctor friend chose not to tell Zevai until I was out of surgery, out of hospital, because I think he knew if he told her earlier than that,
Should be worried.
she should be
Shouldn't
worried to
able
say, is he coming
pray
home or he's gone?
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
and so
Well,
God's
your
got my
story,
number,
wow. He's got your number. It's a really, your story is really, had it not been for God.
Absolutely.
You know, had it not been for the God factor, it is clear
Absolutely.
things could have gone the other way.
It could have gone totally
Yeah,
differently.
yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting
Wow.
here. And so here I am 10 years later. I'm grateful to God. And
Yeah, we
I
thank
continue
God.
to do what needs to be done and praising Him every day for the gift
Yeah.
of life.
Yes, absolutely.
And, I never really used to appreciate nurses. But after my episode in the hospital, I have a different appreciation for the profession.
Yes,
It's,
they're amazing.
They
They're
are
amazing nurses.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but
Not
in
all
general.
of them. Because while I was in hospital, again,
You saw different
I saw
things.
different things.
I
Yeah.
can imagine.
And let me throw this in here as well. I had my first, and I'm hoping only encounter watching somebody die.
Oh no.
Yeah,
That must have been traumatic for you.
it was difficult.
What was
and-
their issue?
I think this gentleman had been unwell for quite a while. I think he had cancer, and he was in and out. And I think this was about midnight, 1 a.m. thereabouts, because I couldn't really sleep. And I would sit up in bed and pray, watch what's going on and stuff like that. I used to be the nurse's alarm. If anything happening, I'll
be
call
up.
him out and, there's somebody who needs attention here. And I remember this particular night, this guy, I think, was shaking. And I said to myself, that can't be good.
No.
He's not that strong. So I called out, nurse. And took his time. He was sleeping. Took his time to respond. Eventually responded. I said, I think you need to look at that man. By the time I pointed at him, he had stabilized. He was not shaking anymore.
Okay.
And so nurse looked and he says, he looks fine. I said, but
He wasn't.
He
A
was
few
not
minutes
fine.
ago.
Just go and have a look. And so, grudgingly he got up, went and looked.
Grudgingly.
Grudgingly,
That's his work.
yeah. So he got up, went and looked, and I think what he felt when it touched the body of this guy shook him, because the lesson that he had as he walked and the actions that he started taking while he was there told me there was something not
wrong.
right.
Yeah.
And so he looked at him, called his colleagues and what have you, looked at him, and within a minute or so, I had him say, rigor mortis, and I said, okay, this guy's gone. And I said, wow.
Life can go like that.
Just like that. Just like that. And I said, wow. So that could have been me. Could have been anybody else.
It could have been. It's just God's grace, really.
God's grace.
Being
and
alive.
Yeah. So they didn't want to talk about it. So the nurse didn't want to talk to me about it. He said, I think he felt guilty.
That it took so long.
It took so long to go and attend to him. And he was worried that I would say something to somebody else about what had happened in the night. And I said, not my place. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm talking about it now, but the nurse, I'm sure he's left Harare Hospital, and
I'm sure it will haunt him.
It will probably definitely haunt him for quite a while. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was one nasty experience. Then another one with a not so friendly nurse. Somebody, a Sekuru who is unable to walk on his own properly, needed to go to the bathroom. So he's calling out, nurse, no response. So I heard him. I called out, nurse, Sekuru is calling you. He needs assistance. He wants to go to the bathroom. Took his time coming, and eventually got to Sekuru's bed, helped him off the bed, took Sekuru's walking stick that he used to support himself. He held the one end of the walking stick and gave Sekuru to hold the other end, and literally dragged the Sekuru towards the bathroom. I said to him,
"That's not nice.
But why? Why are you doing that?" He says, I said, "But you don't have to drag him like that. You can, give him his walking stick, hold him by the hand, or support him somehow and help him." So no,
you're just being compassionate.
I said, wow. So that one I reported him immediately. The next morning the matron came through.
And they sorted that out.
Yeah, I said, no, that guy, before he goes, you need to sit down with him,
and
reprimand him, correct him, because he was very wrong what he did to Sekuru last night, and he's calling me. If I have money, I should not be here. So this is how we treat poor people. Is that what he's saying? So
no, we need to treat people the same.
We're all
just, you just need to be kind.
This is it, yeah. And I said, no, this is not right. So matron says, no, but how did you see? And I said, I was up. She says, but you are also a patient. I said, are you saying I don't know what I'm talking about? Are you trying to defend him such that I can also take issue with you? I told her point blank, and I said, I can take issue with you as well, because I'm telling you something that I saw that is not right,
and
that you're supposed to be dealing. You're in charge of these people here. And now you're telling me I was supposed to be sleeping. I'm a patient. And she says, no, that's not what I'm saying. And I said, yeah, so please deal with your charge. Tell them to do the job well and treat people properly. This is not right. You can't be doing that. And so she says, I don't know, I apologize.
That's good. She's
and I said, you needed to do that. This guy is wrong. And he must apologize to Sekuru. I don't need his apology. He must apologize to Sekuru for what he did to him.
I hope he did.
He did. I made sure of it. And I said, before he leaves this morning, if he doesn't, as sane as I am now, I will take this thing to the papers, and I know your name.
To the papers?
Oh, yeah, I told her straight. And I said, no, we can't do this. This is not right.
Yeah.
He needs to apologize.
Yeah.
And he talked a lot of nonsense about me, but I'm not bothered about that. I must apologize to Sekuru.
Patient
change his ways.
Yeah.
Yes, he should not be doing that. That's
so,
not the oath that he took. Yeah, so
I'd like to think. Hopefully, I hope. I would like to think that's the odd one. I would think most of them are probably good. I hope you also got to witness some good acts.
Oh yeah.
From nurses, the majority of them, I think, are probably fine.
Very, very good people out there, and people who go out of their way
to help others,
to make sure
to
that
just be kind,
this is it,
and patient and compassionate, because that's what is required of those
kind
of professions, and just life in general, but particularly for some professions, you need that to a higher measure.
Absolutely,
yeah.
So I experienced quite a good number of compassionate and loving
That's
and
good. I'm
and
happy about that.
nurses, professionals, and who did their work out of the goodness of their hearts and did whatever needed to be done to make sure that we were
That's good.
comfortable. Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So yeah, it was good.
That's wonderful. So tell me, so what could you say to people about the gift of life? Because to
Yeah.
me that's what's coming out, you know,
Absolutely.
because if you're not alive, we
Absolutely.
can't do all these
We
other
can't
things.
do all
We
this. We
plan
can't.
things, we want to get this, we want to
No, we
get that, I
can't.
want to achieve this.
Yeah.
But if you're not alive, it ends there.
It does.
So what can you say to
Right.
encourage the people who are watching this testimony,
Right.
just from your own experiences? What can you say? And also, can you comment about relationships?
Okay.
Because I think that's so key.
Right. That's very, very key. What I'd encourage and say is this: every single one of us, we have an opportunity to serve. We have an opportunity to live a meaningful life, where my life as Tafara has the potential to impact Tsungi's life in one way or another. And it does not have to be about money.
Yeah.
It's not about money. It's about giving of yourself. What is it that you are willing to do? Get yourself out of your comfort zone. Do for the next person that what you would desire to see being done for you or for somebody who is near and dear to you. So that's number one for me. Be willing to do whatever it takes to make sure the next person is comfortable and taken care of. That's number one right there. And for us to be able to do that, we need to be willing again to relate to people
Yes.
in more ways than one. A relationship is not really about blood. It's about one's willingness to go out there and they see a need, be able to fulfill it. They see somebody who's lonely, go sit down with them, talk to them,
Yes.
and do whatever needs to be done to make the next person feel comfortable and loved. Life is fleeting.
Yes, yes.
Like I said earlier, I was told I had a 36-hour window between life and death. And I ask myself, I've asked God this question a number of times to say, God, why did you preserve my life? And because of that question, I haven't heard his full answer yet, but what I believe is the answer or part of the answer is for me to be able to share my story,
Yes.
to be able to touch lives in more ways than one. I might not be able to give you money, I might not be able to give you food, clothing, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. But if I'm able to give you my listening ear,
Yes.
my empathy,
Yes.
give you a hug, be able to spend time with you, talk to you,
That's it.
build it, I think that's critical. And many of us underestimate the value and the power of just being there for somebody else when
Yes.
they're in need.
Yes.
I'm looking at Lawrence, may his soul continue to rest in peace. I didn't need to open my mouth about his life. I was in there for my own ill health. He came in for his ill health. But now imagine if God had not sent me there, or if God had sent me there and I decided to keep my mouth shut, that it did not, involve me. And yet it did. I was sent there for that particular purpose, to speak up on his behalf and be able to help him out. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, always remember there is something that you can do. There is a phrase or a quotation that is used, said by a number of people that you can't help everybody, but everybody can help somebody.
Yes. Profound. Wow.
So whatever it is that you are doing, wherever you are, there is something that you can do for the next person. It doesn't have, I'll go back to it, it does not have to be about money. I didn't pay a single penny at Harare Hospital.
Absolutely.
I just opened my mouth and did what I did. And God did what he needed to do after I opened my mouth. So you, in your space, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you also have the capacity and the power to do for somebody else what they cannot do for themselves. So that would be my challenge and my encouragement to people out there, and even to myself, to continue to do what it is that I need to do. every single day.
Wow,
Relationships
wow.
are key. Build relationships, not for what you can gain, but just because you love the next person and you want to help them and do what it is that you can do for them.
Wow.
All
Wow.
right?
Thank you. I wanted to stand up and clap. That's amazing. But in short, what you're saying is
Right.
love in action.
Love in action,
And as
that's
children
it.
of God,
Yeah.
we can't continue just to talk about we love God, we love God.
No.
How are we treating other people? It's
yeah.
not always about me, myself,
No.
and I. In fact, it's not.
It's not.
The gospel
It's
talks
never.
about us
Yeah.
being willing vessels to be used,
by God.
Love in action, because
That's it.
God is love.
That's
There's a
it.
scripture that says, how can we say we love God when we don't love our brothers?
That doesn't make sense.
And love is a doing word. It's
It
not
is.
just a
Yeah.
feeling or an
No, no,
emotion.
no, no, no.
That's fleeting. It's
Yeah.
what are you
Yeah.
doing
What
to
are you
demonstrate your love?
Yes.
And not just for the people who are, it's
who are
easy to love
close or
people who love you.
related.
That's what the Bible
That's
even
it.
says.
Yes.
It's harder to love people out there.
Out there. That's it.
So thank you. Wow. Thank
No,
you
no,
so much,
thank you.
Tafara.
I appreciate it.
Wow.
Thank you
We're going
very
to
much
have
for
you
the
back maybe in a
opportunity.
year or so, and then we
Not
want
a
to find
problem.
out more of what God's been doing
Absolutely.
in your life. Thank you.
I'll be
Thank
more
you.
than happy to come
Thank you
back.
for
Thank you so
spending
much.
this time with us.
Absolutely.
I know you're a busy man.
Thank you so much.
I so appreciate that.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it too.
So thank you everyone for staying to the end, watching to the end. I'm sure you were edified and uplifted, just as I was. We will see you next time. Bye for today. Have a great week.